How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into these books that I read this week. I'm going to go ahead and put my grading scale up, and you know how this works. Whenever I go over a book, I'm going to put the cover of that book on the grading scale so you can see how they all stack up against each other. Now let's jump into some DC books. We're going to start with Gotham War Battle Lines, issue number 1 from Chip Zdarsky and Tini Howard, kind of sharing the creative writing side of this project here. We have Hawthorne on here as well. So if you've been reading a lot of the Batman stuff lately, you've been dipping into some of the Catwoman stuff, coming out of Night Terrors, that's when this book is actually taking place. Batman has actually been in kind of a coma right now because Deadman has taken over his body during the Night Terrors story arc, and he's finally awakening from that coma almost for about 3 weeks now. And he gets this strange invitation, him and the rest of the Bat family get this strange invitation to this big meeting that Selina's putting together. She's actually been working with a lot of the cons, a lot of the criminals throughout Gotham, and she's training them to steal from the rich. And so there's no like street level crimes, kind of like in the alleyway that created Batman. None of those kind of crimes exist. She's actually training everyone to be like a thief, kind of like her. And it's actually reduced Gotham's crime rate by like 75%. And so she's just like, you know what? I brought you all here to tell you how successful this whole process has been, and to let you guys know, stay out of our way because we'll take you down if we need to. Of course, Batman doesn't take that very well. He's got, you know, this ultimate motive to like completely get rid of crime, which is like impossible. He's having some battles with some of the other Bat family over this whole thing. There's some other villains that pop up. Pretty cool thing going on. And then, of course, all this is going to be tied into like the Amanda Waller stuff. DC's heading in that direction right now. We'll see where it goes. Interesting premise, and I think it's essential reading to get back into the main Batman run, so make sure to check this one out. The next book we're going to go over is Night Terrors Night's End issue number 1. I don't think there's going to be an issue number 2, but this is kind of the ending of the Night Terror storyline right here. First off, incredible artwork, man. Joshua Williamson is on here. Porter is on here. Such great artwork. It's unbelievable what they're able to do in here. So again, it's very Deadman centered. He's kind of taken on Insomnia while our Justice League is taking on the nightmare version of Justice League. He found a way to use the Nightmare Stone, Insomnia did, found a way to use the Nightmare Stone to bring everyone's nightmare into reality, and it's just attacking everything. So again, we got our Justice League characters taking on the zombie Justice League. We have Deadman taking on Insomnia and these different dream states and things like that. And we ultimately save the day in here. I'll let you read how they actually accomplish that. It is pretty cool. One of the interesting things in here is like, since everybody in the world was in this collective dream state and they were having all these nightmares, it's interesting to see their perception of the Justice League coming out of these nightmares. Like, for instance, here's a little girl like ripping down little Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman signs on their refrigerator because the Justice League are scary to her now because she had all these nightmares of like ghoulish versions of them attacking her in her sleep. And so like she's actually afraid of that kind of stuff, which is really interesting because in Marvel, they're doing a very similar thing. Like mutants used to be the saviors. Now everybody hates the mutants. And so it's funny how the script has flipped a little bit on here. Amanda Waller is in the back of this book, and we're seeing her plan come to fruition. And we see this ultimate like anti-hero be born at the very end of this thing, using some pretty powerful artifacts in the DC world. So we're slowly churning out this Amanda Waller thing. I think that's been like, man, it's been too slow, to be honest with you. We only got a couple of pages at the end of a few books, and like that's the main direction the whole DC universe is starting to head into. It's going to be fun to see where it plays out, but like not exactly sure I'm excited for that direction. We'll see how it goes though. Night's End. How'd you guys enjoy Night Terrors now that it's over? Next we have Action Comics presents Doomsday Special number 1. Went ahead and picked this up because first off, the cover is absolutely amazing on here, and then I flipped open and looked at the interiors, and I love the interior artwork. So I was like, man, I can't go wrong with that. Lots of different people on this one. Dan Waters writing it. We had Eddie Barrows as well on the art, and he's actually sharing some of that duty in this book. Now, it is Doomsday centric, but not the kind of Doomsday that we know and remember. We all remember the death of Superman. That's great. But Kara and Martian Manhunter are having these visions, these nightmares of Doomsday existing and almost calling to them, like bringing them in to wherever he is. They actually try to reach out to him like psychically, and they actually get pulled to hell, where they notice that he's kind of become the champion of hell, and all the different souls that are down there, all those poor unfortunate souls, are almost rooting for him because he's like the only thing that gives him excitement at this point. And the devil's actually getting a little bit worried, and he's like, I need you guys to take out this Doomsday guy because he's actually becoming too powerful and he might overthrow me in a way down here. And you're also going to want to take care of him because the more worshipped he is, the closer he is to breaking out of this realm and going back to Earth. And you definitely don't want to do that. So we end up getting this huge battle between basically Kara with this special armor type and Doomsday. Doomsday's like completely roided out. He's been in hell for so long, being twisted, tortured, killed in every which way imaginable. So you can imagine just how tough he's going to be in this battle. And then of course we have Martian Manhunter doing his thing to try to help support that and actually rallying and trying to convince some of the lost souls down there to not worship him so much. So they're attacking him on both fronts. Very, very cool book, beautifully drawn. The only downside to this book right here is the battle between Darkseid and Kara and Martian Manhunter. It doesn't have like the impact, like the high stakes that we've seen before in Doomsday battles. So I will say, like, it was cool to watch them fight, but like there was nothing earned about it. It didn't seem like a struggle in a way, but we all know it would be, you know what I mean? So cool book, cool concept. Doomsday will be back, and we got some really interesting back matter in here, like a Dante's Inferno kind of a thing. Excited to see that play out some more. Not a bad book. Did you guys read it? What'd you think? We're going to jump into Marvel next with Ultimate Invasion issue number 3. Now, I've heard some other people talk about this book. I think others enjoy this book more than I do, but, you know, it is rather interesting. And again, we're in like this alternate Ultimate Universe right now that the maker is kind of crafted, and we had some really interesting events happen in the previous issue. This one right here, we have this whole room full of these different villains and anti-heroes and heroes, and we have Howard Stark, who's this universe's Iron Man. He's introduced to all these different people, and he's given the kind of a rundown on the power swaps, right? The behind the scenes on like, okay, the Rasputins will be the enemies for this certain amount of time, maybe a decade or two. We're going to rally all of our troops. We're going to generate a lot of buzz. We're going to make a whole lot of money in like this war effort, take them over, and then somebody else is going to become the heel for the next generation, something like that. So they're kind of manipulating the world that they're in right now, and everyone's in on it. All the different characters are in on it, and so he's trying to digest that and figure out what's going on. Now, Howard's still trying to figure out what the hell to make of all this, and he's talking with the maker, and the maker introduces him to his new sidekick, his lab assistant in a way, and it's actually a pretty interesting character in here. We're wondering where this character was this whole time in this Ultimate Universe, and we see who it is. I'm not going to spoil that for you. And then, of course, in the back matter, if you read the previous book where we had this wave of heroes that attacked him in the other issue, well, we get the next generation of that wave, and we get to see who's commanding that army, and that's got me really excited. So I can't wait to see more of that. So again, we're going to have these waves and waves of all these heroes that we know and love. So Ultimate Invasion, it's an interesting book for sure. Not exactly over my head, but like I don't have a lot of familiarity with the Ultimate Universe in general, and so maybe that's the key to really enjoying this run. But issue number 3, kind of lackluster in my opinion. I loved issue number 1 and 2. 3 a little bit less. What'd you guys think of this one? Let me know. Next, we got Miss Marvel, the New Mutant issue number 1, like that little homage cover to the original G. Willow Wilson run. And this one's actually co-written by the actress who played Miss Marvel in the Disney Plus series. So I thought that was pretty cool, getting a little writing debut, I suppose, in this comic right here. So it actually opens up with Miss Marvel kind of having all these different dreams about the teams that she was on, the different people she's interacted with, some of the highlights of her career so far. She awakens and she's actually going to like an Orcus university for a bunch of kids. It's kind of like a regular college or university, but it's ran by Orcus, which is really weird. So she's infiltrating Orcus, trying to be that man on the inside, and she's actually reporting back on our underground X-Men that are kind of hanging low right now. Now, she's able to do that because she's a mutant, but she's not a mutant at the same time. They explain that in a couple other issues. So you have to digest that a little bit. So she's actually going around in this university undetected, and she responds to a threat over here, and she throws on that awesome new costume that she has, which I absolutely love. And she thinks it's a moment to kind of redeem herself, bring a good name back to the mutant kind. But at the end of the day, everyone is still afraid of mutants, and it didn't exactly go according to plan. And she's trying to reconcile all that. She's like, I just saved a whole lot of people, but everyone still hates mutants. Everyone thinks I was trying to kill them, things like that. And now she inadvertently got on the radar of Orchis, so she has to work all that out now. Like, hey, there's a mutant on our premises. We got to take care of that. So pretty cool, pretty interesting book. If you love Miss Marvel, you're going to dig this one. If you're a casual fan, maybe you'll like it. Check it out, see what you think. Next, we're going to go into the Incredible Hulk issue number 3. Got that awesome Frank Miller variant. Some of the other variants that he's put out so far have been a little bit sus, but this one has actually been really cool. So I'm liking this one a lot. So I think I don't enjoy this book as much as most people do. I think a lot of us are agreeing that this horror aspect, this horror art style is what we like with the Hulk. You know what I mean? So we saw that in previous runs. We got a little departure recently. We're back into it, and everybody seems to really like this brutal, demonic, horrific, like bulging Hulk, man. Everyone seems to love that. I love it too. I'm waiting for the story to kind of catch up to the artistry, to be honest with you, because I'm not really following the story, to be honest. It's like this ancient evil that people have been worshiping. All of a sudden, zombies are coming up, and they're trying to resurrect this demon, I suppose. And it has something to do with the Green Door and all this stuff that we explored in Al Ewing's run back in the day. And it's just like, okay, maybe, whatever. I don't really understand. We have this girl sidekick right now who's kind of running from an abusive father, and she's looking for something, the biggest, baddest thing she can cling on to help draw strength from. So that's pretty cool. I actually like their little team up they do inside of here, and I like the commentary or the dialogue they have at the very end of this, because she actually proves herself to Hulk, and Hulk's like, all right, you're a badass. Why don't you go ahead and come with me? So I like that relationship a lot. I'm waiting for the story again to catch up to the art style. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I like it. It's not like my most exciting book that I get each week, but let me know what you guys think about Hulk down below. Next book we're going to get into is Blade issue number 2. I really liked issue number 1. Issue number 2 is great as well. So if you're a casual Blade fan or you're into Blade and you were skipping this one, definitely check it out. From Brian Hill, and we have Casagrande on the art, and we have Jordie Bellaire on the colors. So again, very, very cool book. Opens up with like a bang, man. We're introduced to this friend of his that's into unusual weaponry. How about that? Like supernatural weapons. Of course, they had some kind of a thing back in the day, and they get some time to reconcile a little bit here. But what I love about this book is that it's completely action-packed. The dialogue is great. His motivations make sense. Everything is really cool. He gets his hands on some really cool technology, really cool weaponry, takes out some threats. But now we're going over into the dojos right now, because one of his people that he rescued was actually kidnapped from his custody in a way, and now they're trying to draw out some kind of demon or something like that. And so Blade is going out to save the day, going on a rescue mission right now here, and we're taking on some kind of like supernatural monk looking dudes. So art is really cool. We talked about the coloring and maybe the gradients and things like that over on the best comics of the month over at Pop Culture Philosophers, so make sure to check that out. I think everybody was in agreement that the story is really cool, the pencils are really interesting, but like something's wrong with the coloring in here, so hopefully they'll fix that in later issues. But Blade issue number 2, really cool book, and I was excited to like a Blade book. Here we are with number 2. Check it out. All right, we're going to jump over to Massive real quick with Sean Murphy's Plot Holes. Man, now this book is awesome. It was a Kickstarter, I think, a year or 2 ago, something like that. Finally hit the comic book shelves this week, so I went ahead and picked it up. Very difficult to explain exactly what this is about, but I'll try my best. So everything that is written, from movies to comics to novels, things like that, the characters inside of those universes that are created actually have some kind of a conscience, and they actually are alive in their universe, and they perceive everything around them as being the real world. And so you have all these unique, weird, different universes that are out there now. And in this book, it explores a team that's built from all different kinds of stories. And their main objective is to fix bad writing and to fix editorial issues. Like, let's just say that they misstated like World War II or something like that. So they're actually going to go back and fix those kinds of things. But also there's this alien, this bug that's able to traverse the different realms and actually take out these stories, basically eliminating that entire universe. And now they got to figure out a way to stop that. So very, very cool book. We learn all of this from the perspective of a new hire or a new person on the team, which is this guy right here on the front. And it's really cool. The only criticism I think we had on this one is we expect that the different characters from different novels, different time periods, different genres completely, to have a totally different art style. But it appears that when they're plucked out of their original stories and put into this one, maybe they are changed into the art style of the book that they're in. I don't know if that's going to fly, who knows, but very, very cool book. Tons of pop culture references. I absolutely love this one so much. I like the creativity of it and the scope of it and all the different characters and the art. That's what really grabbed me with this one. Make sure to check out the plot holes. It was really great. All right, in IDW, we had Saturday Morning Adventures, TMNT. This is a little one-shot, just a cool nostalgic bump right here. If you're into the Turtles books and I think maybe that like the Last Ronin or the main Turtles run has a little bit too much like seriousness in it, this is definitely the book for you. Gives you that nostalgic vibe. It reminds you of the TV show, reminds you of the cartoons, things like that. And yeah, that's exactly why I got it, to kind of contrast that like high stress, high drama, other turtle books that we have right now. So the basic thing going on right here is everyone's just kind of getting a little bit bored doing the same old thing, specifically Michelangelo. They decided to take a little vacation and go to this frontier land, so they get to dress up like cowboys and things like that and just have like a day off. You know what I mean? It's a way that they can put on a disguise, get out there, and actually just kind of unwind a little bit. But of course, they run into some classic turtle villains that are using this theme park and all these rides to power some crazy portal to bring in some rock army guys, and they have to step in and save the day while also rescuing some people that are kind of like falling out of roller coasters and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool thing. I think the change of scenery is what they needed because they get their spirits and their hopes back up towards the end of this, and they can go back to New York and kick some ass, right? So TMNT, Saturday Morning Adventures, just like a fun little book. Check it out. All right, so Distillery put out their Devil's Cut issue number 1. I don't know if this is going to be like an ongoing or whatever, if this was just meant to be a previews book. It was $10, prestige format, lots of different stories. I think we had 10 different stories or so in here. And so we had a bunch of different creative teams, all kinds of stories in here. So I read them all, and I gotta say, I enjoyed like half of them. I think maybe a half or less I would be interested in seeing a 5 or 6 issue run out of it. Tynan opens this up with this typical Tynan stuff. It's all about alternate realities, maybe in a way, ghosts, uploading consciousness into technology, creating shadow versions of yourself. Basically take like Department of Truth or Nice House on the Lake or World Tree or anything that he's writing right now and, you know, take a flavor of that out of there and like make another story. That's what he's got going on. So nothing really mind-blowing, I don't think, inside of that one. There's a couple other stories in here that are pretty cool. There's this like chick who's an assassin running around doing some interesting stuff. It's got some cool little like playful artwork involved here. We had Scott Snyder doing a story in here as well. That one was okay. We had Indolfo on here doing some writing and everything with this like vampire agent guy. That was okay too. We had some post-apocalyptic thing where there's like a scavenger hunt and the world's gone to hell and this person tries to get some food because, you know, his family's hungry or whatever. There's a cowboy story. There's a Frank Villa and Scott Snyder boat kind of a story. You know, it was okay. A lot of these books in here were like, okay, how many of these would I actually want to see more of? And to be honest with you, not a whole lot of them. So I don't know what this was. Is this a preview book to all the books that are coming out from this publisher over the next year or two? Or was this kind of just like a snapshot of what we can expect to see? Maybe not these exact stories. I don't know. I didn't read up on it. If you know anything about that, let me know down below. All right, guys. So that's all I read. And those are my thoughts. I appreciate you watching the video. Go down below in the comments and let me know what you read and what your favorite books of the week were. And while you're down there, hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and the join button. I would really appreciate it. But as always, I appreciate you watching the video. I will see you all down below in the comments.